2 more. Oh, I'm talking. Let me do this again. And in 3, 2. Yes. I got to give the people what they want. Jackson, you always talk about it. Sometimes you'll watch some Different Strokes episodes, and you'll be irritated if Gary Coleman doesn't do the what you talking about. Right. I know people tune into this show, number 1, to look at me, but number 2, to hear the yes. And so I got to kind of give them what they want.
Gets people in the mood.
Have I become a catchphrase guy? I think all the greats have.
I mean, what would Carson be if
nice.
Ed, help me out here a little.
No, I kind of am enjoying this. It's
Ed
like when you couldn't remember that the Rams are playing the 49ers.
Ed Begley.
Ed Begley Jr. from Saying Elsewhere.
He drives his electric car, and he says, "Here's Johnny."
That, of course, being Ed McMahon.
Ed McMahon, okay. All right. I get the first name.
But if you had Ed Begley Jr. being mentioned on 101 ESPN today, collect at the cage.
With one in the first minute.
Yeah. Didn't happen on the opening drive, I ventured to say. Les Rocchio weaved it in. Jackson, welcome in to Balloon Party, driven by Munganess St. Louis Acura and Munganess Burkhardt Alton Toyota. My name is Timothy Michael McKernan. That's Jackson Burkett. And wow, do we have a program for you today. Jackson, why don't you let the audience know what you have prepared for today's banquet?
Today, I prepared a smorgasbord of topics. I call it a wide berth Wednesday because
wow.
There's really room to dig in. It's kind of like the deep end of the pool, you know. You can kind of dive in, you can cannonball in. You're not limited. It's a wide berth Wednesday.
Okay. Well, I'm anxious. I mean, coming off of a Sonny Gray performance like that, 3 of the 4 members of the bullpen dealing like they did, and Nolan Gorman going yard. I mean, we got the Masties starting up tomorrow. The Blues and Blackhawks tonight. The Blues are going to cut the lead in the playoff gap down to 3 and make an historic Stanley Cup run. I mean, this is a smorgasbord.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to kick it off with the Cardinal game last night. Outstanding performance from the entire pitching staff. Sonny Gray, even on a pitch count, was super effective. No earned runs for the entire game. Jojo Romero coming in and being lights out.
Kyle Schwarber, how do you do?
Really great outing out of Jojo Romero, and then Ryan Helsley closes it out. Really, that pitch that he ended the game on was filthy. That was a nasty, nasty pitch coming off like him spiking the ball. Maybe a little nervous right before that, but you never know what you're going to get sometimes with Helsley, but last night was great. However...
4 saves.
Yeah. However, coming off of a bad outing, good outing. That's good to see. However, the offense is still relying on less than powerful baseballs. Nolan Gorman hit another big fly last night, so it's nice to see him hitting 3 home runs in 2.5 days, I guess, which is good to see, but power deficiency is there. I have some numbers, Tim.
Yeah, go ahead. I'd love to hear them.
When looking at the Cardinals scoring off of a lot of sac flies, errors, and fielders' choices, the league average for adjusted batting runs is 0.0.
Okay.
The Cardinals have a negative 13.2.
That, I assume, is good.
For more reference, the Braves have a positive 18.9.
Okay, so there's a 31-point delta.
Also, when talking about runs created per game, that stat basically says runs produced by a lineup of 9 of each player. So if you were to take one player times them by 9. Wilson Contreras has a team-leading 7.4. Jordan Walker, Paul Goldschmidt, and Nolan Arenado have a combined runs created per game of 7.0.
Okay.
Tyler O'Neill has a 15.
Leading the league in home runs.
Yeah, so that is, you'd have to get to the 5th Cardinal batter in the lineup to reach Tyler O'Neill's numbers.
Okay.
So not where you're liking to see.
Where'd you get this? This is kind of a little...
BaseballReference.com.
No, I know that, but I mean, like, was there an article that story, or did you just all of a sudden go deep data diving?
I've been getting more into sabermetrics around all sports.
Really?
Yeah, I find it interesting. Are you
developing a little bit of a gambling habit?
No, it's not for gambling. I just find it interesting. Like, if there's going to be all this data out there, might as well take a look.
I agree with you, but I mean, we've been working together for 4 years, and this is a side of you I've never seen.
Mm-hmm. And numbers don't tell the full scope of what's going on. I find that I'm trying to get more into it and understand it a little bit better. You look at someone like Nolan.
When did this start?
Over the last week or 2.
Really?
Yeah, I'm trying to really get into this Cardinal season. I want to get under the hood. I want to see, because we've never seen something like this in my lifetime with the Cardinals, and I want to really get into it.
Wow. Never seen what like this with the Cardinals?
It's just, like I said yesterday, rolling in neutral. Like, never have I felt before in my life as a Cardinal fan that they were ever rolling in neutral quite like this. Yeah, no, I
I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I get that. Wow, look at this.
Yeah.
How about this? What do you say? Where are all the Piddles haters now?
They can still hate. I got a lot of show in front of me here.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to the Blues discussion yet.
Yeah, but given the lack of offense, which, by the way, would be a terrible 2-week stretch no matter what point in the season. So I know it's early, but if this was a 2-week stretch in August, you'd be concerned. And the Redbirds are .500 still. Is that if the offense can pick up just a little, they can really start to hum. Ollie Marmol talked Monday night about how sometimes guys like Arenado and Goldie, that overnight things can just click and turn around quickly. Do you personally buy into that?
Yeah, I absolutely do. That does happen. Goldschmidt historically starts off poorly. So, yeah, I absolutely do believe that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fair.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to, there was so much meat in the question, in the build up to the question, and then the question was, do you believe that guys can turn it around? And then I was like, oh God, I feel like my answer is not going to tend to what was so. The question was more informative than the answer was.
Yeah, so
I don't know what else to say.
Well,
like Brandon Nemo's on my fantasy team.
Yeah,
and he's been garbage for the Mets at the top of their batting order. I'm sure they were thinking about we might have to bench him for a day or two. I think he was like 1 for 27 or something like that. And then he goes down to Atlanta. You would think he's going to have problems going up against Charlie Morton. He goes 4 for 4 with 2 home runs and 5 RBI, and then gets another hit last night in their game against the Braves. So it absolutely can happen. Sometimes there may be an injury. Sometimes it's just like a nagging injury. I'm not talking like something that they're going to have to shut down for. Sometimes it's just, oh, I caught this in your swing. You're doing this. Make this adjustment. Yeah, I'm not really. If you were going, okay, State of the Union, 6-6 into the season, I would say the pitching staff, yeah, there have been some bad starts, but overall, relative to expectation, because that was the conversation on the Blues, because I don't think too many Blues fans were going, maybe they can win the Cup this year going into the season. So that's why when Berube got fired, I'm just like, I mean, they're kind of matching expectations. I don't get it, but there's things going on behind the scenes we don't know. Mm-hmm. Relative to expectations for the Cardinals, 12 games into the season, again, relative to expectations, the starting staff is either a B or an A. Why the Cardinals aren't 7-5 or 8-4 with getting the caliber of starting pitching they've gotten is the offense. What do I think is likely to happen? I would think that the rotation is likely to have some semblance of regression, and I would think that you're going to see a progression on the offensive side. There's just too much talent, even if Goldschmidt and Arenado have entered the decline phase of their careers. And I'd really be surprised if both had. I just would really, I mean, don't get me wrong, it can happen, and it certainly would be unfortunate. But that also doesn't necessarily mean that they go back to 2022 form when they were in the mix and won the MVP. So, yeah, that's the core issue. But what you want to have happen is both those things be firing at the same time, and then you can really get yourself in a spot. And also, it should be noted that the Cardinals, this is one of the most difficult stretches of their season schedule-wise, at least from what you would think. Now, who knows? Maybe some of these teams that you thought were going to be really good this year aren't going to be really good. For example, the Marlins, a playoff team last year, really having problems to start this year. I would imagine the Phillies will be a great team. They're not at the moment. Padres are below 500 as well. But looking at the schedule in advance of the year, you'll be hard-pressed to find too many 12-game stretches that you would say would rival seeing the Dodgers, the Padres road games, the Marlins, which I know sounds results-oriented. Well, the Marlins aren't very good, but the Marlins had expectations, and not to say that it's over for them by any means, but it's a bad start. And the Phillies. I mean, you're talking about a good chance that you're facing 3, maybe 4, but likely 3 playoff teams in a 12-game stretch. And you were opening that 12-game stretch without your ace starter, who certainly pitched like an absolute ace, carrying over the momentum from 2023 into his first start as a Cardinal. So from that standpoint, if you would have told me as we were getting ready for the first pitch at Dodger Stadium 2 weeks ago, 13 days ago, that they'd be 6-6, I would have taken that all day long. What I think is concerning is that Arenado is not hitting with power or even really hitting the ball. It's seemingly particularly hard.
I got a stat on that for you.
Oh, my. Look at what do we got going on here?
So,
what is it? Like, have you, like, gotten deep into daily fantasy? Or
No.
I just like, you know, I think have you developed like a terrible gambling habit?
Not at all. No, this is just I find this stuff as I
What's your
mature.
stat on Arenado?
His career hard hit percentage, Tim, 41.4%. So far this year, he sits at 26.8%.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, and it wasn't like he was raking at the end of last year either, hitting the ball hard.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. I enjoy, and I think we were talking about this yesterday, that in St. Louis, or maybe it was the Plowboy on TMA, I can't recall, that in St. Louis, I think more so than other markets, and I don't say this as necessarily like a compliment to St. Louis, this is just kind of the way it is, that I think fans in St. Louis enjoy the process of a baseball game and a baseball season and care about intricacies of baseball that just in other places they wouldn't really care about. Probably like in Green Bay, they may monitor offensive line performance more than, you know, say like with LA fans with the Rams or Chargers.
Right.
And so you can see if a guy is trending, even if the results haven't necessarily shown it. And by results, I mean those led to home runs or hits. And Arenado had a hitting streak, but you felt like he wasn't playing well. The hitting streak came to an end last night. He did get on base, but he was 0 for 3. You just don't see it. If he can get it going, then you go, okay, well, that's a huge thing. Because right now he's actually in some capacity a bit of a liability considering where he's hitting. Same thing with Goldschmidt. So, you know, that's what stands out to me as being a concern. And otherwise, you know, at this moment, the reason why they're 6-6, as far as looking at it from a positive, is that they're getting really good starting pitching. I guess for 9 of the 12 starts, good to really good starting pitching.
Yeah, byproduct of a lot of bad defense they're playing against as well. I mean, that Marlins series was underscored that for sure, but
the Cardinal defense
been outstanding.
Is incredible, and that was one of the things Sonny Gray went out of his way to talk about last night.
Been outstanding, yeah. And then
only 2 balls in the outfield last night, both off Schwarber's bat.
Yeah,
and then Romero gets him.
Yeah, and guys and young guys too. Mason Wynn, Victor Scott both look outstanding in the field. Really good to see. But if just one of Arenado, Goldie, or Jordan Walker could get going for power, match it up with Gorman. Hopefully he continues the power hitting because it seems like he's got a little more figured out. Combine that with Contreras and Herrera, what they're doing. Then you have some really, you don't even need all 3 of them, just one of the 3 to really get going. Goldie, as you mentioned, usually starts slow, but Arenado, I mean, that hard hit percentage, it's been declining for some time.
That's a substantial difference.
That's bad.
41% to 26 is what you said it was?
Yeah.
And you don't have to be a baseball savant to make that observation with Arenado's performance to date. So, with that all said, they have a chance to win a 3rd straight series and do it against a good team in the Philadelphia Phillies. They would have done it, by the way, by beating Wheeler and Nola. Nola's getting the ball today. If you are not in St. Louis, it is cloudy, rained overnight. Rain is in the forecast today. I would think they will do everything they can to get this game, and it's an afternoon start, so they might just have to deal with it. But the Cardinals are heading out to Phoenix, day off tomorrow, and then take on the Diamondbacks. So theoretically, they could get this thing in today. They just may have to wait if the conditions preclude a timely start. With that all said, 6-6 through 12, I would take it. But the stat that stands out to me had nothing to do with what was on the field last night. I'll give you that statistic on the other side of the commercial break. This is Balloon Party on 101 ESPN. Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota, presenting sponsor of Balloon Party on 101 ESPN and the 101 ESPN YouTube channel. Go online at stlouisacura.com or altontoyota.com if you would like to take a look at the incredible selection they have at Munganess, St. Louis Acura and Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota. Both new cars and pre-owned vehicles, if you're looking to buy or lease, it's all there for you. Plus, the service department at Munganess, St. Louis Acura and Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota. And they're not saying, oh, you got your car from Munganess, so you can go ahead and get it serviced here. No. Even if you didn't get your car from Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota, you can get your car serviced there. Just go online at stlouisacura.com or altontoyota.com. And you are also welcome to utilize the secret number just for our listeners to call or to text the people in charge, 314-252-0029. It's Munganess, stlouisacura.com, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota, online at altontoyota.com. Welcome back to Balloon Party, 101 ESPN, 101 ESPN YouTube channel as well. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you here on the program. Talked about the Cardinal win last night. The statistic that stands out to me, Jackson. Sonny Gray's pitching line, wonderful. Nolan Gorman, third home run. Wonderful. Talked about the disappointing offensive performance they're getting from the core of the lineup. And those are all relevant. But this is what stood out to me in reading Derek Gould's game story at stltoday.com this morning. Helsley closing out the game with a 102-mile-an-hour fastball for his fourth save. Carried the lead of Gray and completed the first shutout of the season with a 3-0 victory against Philadelphia. And it happened in front of the smallest night game crowd in a non-COVID year ever at Busch Stadium 3. How about that?
That's eye-opening. It's tough to say anything
and
but
it wasn't like the crowd was huge on Monday night either, and that is why I bring that up. We talked about it yesterday. So often, anytime there are complaints around the Cardinals, people will say, well, as long as people keep going, nothing's going to change. And don't get me wrong, almost every organization in baseball, especially those not located in Los Angeles, at least L.A. proper, not Anaheim, and the boroughs of Bronx and Queens, would be happy with that number. In St. Louis, you just heard it. This is the, 18th season, I guess, of Busch Stadium 3, 19th season. I don't know how you recognize 2020. But again, Derek Gould's line was in a non-COVID year. That was the smallest crowd for a night game in the stadium's history.
Yeah.
So whatever the cause may be, it's not like it was freezing. There were sprinkles of rain around the area, but, fans are not coming in like they used to at this point in the season.
Yeah.
Now, you get off to a great start, and 6-6 turns into 20-12, and I would imagine for that 33rd game, if it were at Busch Stadium, there would be plenty of people in the ballpark. But at this moment, that's not there. And I continue to go back to, I'm sure part of it is the apathy toward the roster, the lack of excitement perhaps from the roster, the lack of excitement from the players as far as personality may go, even though that might be an unfair criticism. But I keep going back to baseball's television situation that has played out over the last few years. You're now starting to see the chickens come home to roost. And there are a number of people who a decade ago or even 5 years ago couldn't fathom 7 o'clock rolling around in St. Louis between April and September and not flipping over to Fox Sports Midwest and watching a Cardinal game. And because of the chaos of the Bally Sports Midwest experience and not being available all over for the various different television providers, a number of people go, you know what, I'm just not going to watch. I'm not going to switch television providers again. Baseball makes it so tough to watch games. And then they go, God, I just found out I don't really miss it. Yeah. And now I'm not engaged. I think that is actually the bigger reason for it than some kind of silent protest of a lack of attendance. But either way, that's the number, and it follows a night before in which the numbers were not particularly large either. Doug Vaughn of TMA was at the game, and he's like, they may have announced close to 32,000, but it was maybe 2 out of 3 on that as far as being in the ballpark.
And last night is you're getting a Phillies team.
Zach Wheeler,
Sonny Gray's first start. You can be as critical as you want in the offseason, but it's tough to be critical of a move where you get Sonny Gray, a guy who finished second in the Cy Young race last season, and you get his first start. The Phillies are the team that ousted the Redbirds in 2022 in the playoffs. A really good team, a good lineup. Gorgeous. Not gorgeous necessarily with the little bit of sprinkles, but
hey, man, it was temperate weather.
Exactly.
For April, I was outside until 7:15 with my boys. That was A-okay for April 8th,
right.
9th, whatever the hell it was.
And people can say, well, school night, all this, that. But as you referenced on TMA, they had that
18 other years to look back on. There were school nights in April back in 2010. So,
exactly.
A number of people, when we are talking about this topic as we speak, I'm getting a bunch of these. Now, I still am going to say it's the television thing. But a lot of people, I don't know if you have the text inbox in front of you, are making references to crime in downtown St. Louis. Now, I lived on Washington Avenue in 2009, 2010, 2011, and lived at Park Pacific in 2011 and 2012. So I lived down there. And it was a different situation at that time, I can tell you. Otherwise I wouldn't have been living there, and I know a number of people listening to this probably lived down there at that time. We had like a 3-block oasis, and it was wonderful. Mm-hmm. And that's I think part of the equation. Now, whether or not if we were playing Family Feud, what the number 1 answer is, and number 2 answer, number 3, I think our top 3 would be take your pick of whatever order. I put the television situation up there. I would put the crime up there, and I would put the Cardinal fans feeling either apathetic or some form of a silent protest, and that's what combines to lead to it. And it just so happens that it times out with, and I don't know if you saw this, because I know you have incredible financial advisors, so you don't need to. But for the proletariat meat and potatoes guy like me,
right?
I have to read the Wall Street Journal in order to just try to keep up with even like 3% of what your portfolio is doing. And I don't even know how you do it. It makes me wonder if you have some kind of Bud Fox, Gordon Gekko arrangement, because it's startling what your portfolio is doing. And maybe that's just a Ledoux thing.
Folks can ask all the questions they want, but until they put a subpoena in front of me, I won't be doing any speaking.
I respect that. You'll give us baseball statistics, not portfolio information. That the front page of the Wall Street Journal was focused on St. Louis.
Saw that.
Oh, you did see it?
Yeah, a bunch of people on TMA were texting in the link to the article.
The real estate nightmare unfolding in downtown St. Louis as the title of the article, and it is a long, detailed story of the debacle that is downtown St. Louis, which is why, and there are people that I think it's almost like a knee-jerk reaction to just say, that can't be that way because it's all you know are ballparks downtown and rinks downtown. And if you have an NBA team, downtown. Mm-hmm. I just don't think that's the way of the future. And I'm not saying it's wrong or it's right. I'm just telling you, I think a perfect example would be if you would point to what many would consider to be one of the more forward-thinking cities that was not a huge city 50 years ago. I think many would point to Atlanta.
Yeah.
And how they've made themselves into the powerhouse that they've become. And Atlanta, I mean, they went through ballparks very quickly. 1 year they're playing at Fulton County Stadium. The next year they're at Turner Field. And less than 2 decades later, they're at SunTrust. And now it's what, Truist?
Yeah.
Well, they do. They moved the ballpark to, I guess, North Atlanta, which is the population center, because more people would go to the games.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are texting in that one of the reasons people aren't going is crime, just for the sake of the conversation, I have no idea where a ballpark would go. This isn't going to be happening anytime soon. But if you say, will the Cardinals be playing in downtown St. Louis in 2050, I will bet all day long that they're not. If the game were like in Chesterfield or St. Charles, would more people go? And I would say the answer is yes. And I don't even think twice about that. I just think the thing being in downtown, I'm not talking about St. Louis downtown. I'm just talking about downtowns in general. I think it's just kind of a 20th century thing that isn't necessarily material to a franchise's success anymore. That's where I am. But that when I say that, and I've said it multiple times, that gets met with rejection and almost anger, and I don't really know why. I just find it to be rather logical. It's not an indictment of anything, just so much as an observation that you bring the product to your customers and you make it more convenient for your customers. That's just ABC poker. So your thoughts on that are welcome, and you are welcome to text in to the text inbox here on Balloon Party 314-399-9646 Air Comfort Service text line, and participate in the chat on the 101 ESPN YouTube channel. On the other side of our commercial break, we'll read some of the feedback on this point of the conversation. Plus, Jeremy Rutherford was with us on TMA about 90 minutes ago, Jackson, and we certainly talked about the Jimmy Snuggerud situation, but the topic of conversation that really got things going was on who the next coach of the Blues could be, and you'll hear what he had to say and why there could be a tell of someone the Blues may be looking at. We'll have that for you on the other side of the break. This is Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN. Hey, this is Tim McKernan for the Bath Authority. If your bath or shower is old, outdated, has mold and mildew, or broken tiles, you got to call the good people at the Bath Authority. The Bath Authority provides the highest quality bathroom remodeling products along with a world-class customer experience. Their modern, durable tubs and showers are designed with an exclusive high-tech polymer liner, and what that means to you is it'll be low maintenance, resistant to mold and mildew, easy to clean, and last for decades. Plus, comes with a lifetime warranty. Walk-in tubs, replacement showers, tub-to-shower conversions, and more. Every unit's custom built. You pick the premium accents and accessories, including safety features like low-profile showers, grab grab bars, and shower seats. All Bath Authority products are 100% made in the USA and can be installed in as little as 1 day by certified factory technicians. Call today, 314-347-0410, and get $1,000 off a new shower or bath plus 36 months of interest-free financing. You are their priority. At the Bath Authority, elevate your bathroom to a new level of luxury, style, and safety. Call today, 314-347-0410 to schedule your free in-home estimate today and get $1,000 off a new shower or bath, plus 36 months of interest-free financing. TheBathAuthority.com. A better bath awaits.
This is Action Jackson with a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals win last night over the Phillies, final score of 3-0. Sonny Gray in his debut gets the win over Zach Wheeler and the Philadelphia Phillies. They take on the Phillies again today. First pitch at 1:15. Lance Lynn on the bump. Aaron Nola on the mound for the Phillies. And the Blues are back in action tonight as they take on the Blackhawks. You can catch that game right here on the home of the Blues, 101 ESPN. Pregame starts at 6 p.m. Puck drop at 7. And last night, the Warriors defeat the Lakers 134 to 120. The Warriors drained 26 threes, shooting 61% from behind the arc. That was another SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome back to McKernan with you to the top of the hour. The program's called Balloon Party. This is 101 ESPN and the 101 ESPN YouTube channel. As you may expect, Jackson, my perspective on the ballpark not being in downtown St. Louis in 2050 has either gotten a lot of people super on board or really upset people. And like I said, I'm not saying it to polarize. That's kind of boring to me, even though I guess that's the game. Mm-hmm. You scream about something and not really feel it. I happen to feel this way, and I'm probably not doing much screaming. This is just what I think, and I don't think it's a particularly cutting edge. Like, I'd bet my bankroll that it won't be. Maybe it'll be in the Metro East. And I know some people haven't, and because some of the people in Illinois are like, you put it in St. Charles, I'm not going. And then people in St. Charles are like, oh, you put it in Illinois, I'm not going. I would imagine you'll say that, and it's a lot like people saying they move to Canada if their particular presidential candidate doesn't win, and then nobody moves to Canada. Yeah. You still support the baseball team. So, yeah, I just think that that's the way that it's going to go, and I don't think this is limited to St. Louis. I just think that that's the way that stadiums will continue to do more of what Atlanta and the Braves did with Truist.
Yeah, I think your logic is spot on. I think there's no argument with that. My counter is going to be both naive and whimsical. So I want that on the record.
So you were more data-driven in the first segment. In the third segment now, all of a sudden you're Mark Twain.
Get you a man who can do both.
Amen. Amen. I am looking for a man who can do both.
There's something desirable, something I truly love about sitting behind home plate and seeing the arch and the St. Louis skyline and the way Busch Stadium 3 is sitting. There's something about it that I love. Something about being downtown. I can't really explain it. I just know I love the look of it. I know people who've come to the ballpark who are not from St. Louis really enjoy their experience at Busch Stadium. I just don't feel you would get that when you're surrounded by a huge parking lot, similar to like what they have with like Arrowhead or certain ballparks out there. I agree with that. I don't think you get that same feeling now. Like I said, your logic and the sense behind it is there. I just, from a whimsical and naive standpoint, I don't
think it's naive. I don't think that's naive. Naive makes it sound like you don't know what you're talking about, and it's ignorance, and I don't think that's it. You're talking more about feelings.
Yes.
You might be surprised to hear this, but I'm not big into feelings.
I thought you were like Dr. Joyce Brothers.
I'm into money and greed. Greed, for lack of a better term, is good. Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
1987?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, I think so.
That sounds right.
No, I couldn't really care one way or the other on that. But I'm just telling you that I think that's the direction that these things will go. Sure. My observation is in general on downtowns, not even specific to St. Louis. Mm-hmm. And I've oftentimes cited downtowns are more of a phenomenon of older cities and not necessarily when you go out west. Downtowns aren't the centerpieces of cities like they were in the mid-20th century for most of the cities that were usually east of the Mississippi River, St. Louis being an exception by a few miles. But, I realize for those who have lived all of their lives in St. Louis, which includes me, the idea of the Cardinals not playing in downtown St. Louis sounds blasphemous. So I understand it. I'm not doing it for effect. I'm just looking at the math. You have a quarter of a century to go. And these ballparks, even if they last a long time, you're not going to find too many like Wrigley Field, Fenway Park, and even Dodger Stadium now. And so there's turnover. And I would bet you that by the time the new Busch Stadium 3, is approaching 50 years old, that there will be a new ballpark. And I don't think it'll be in downtown St. Louis. Yeah. So that's where I'm coming from. And I'm not sitting here screaming and yelling and trying to get people to react.
Would you mind starting? I mean, what are we doing?
I could, but I want to get to this Blues coaching thing.
It's fair.
I do. Jeremy Rutherford was with us on TMA, and we had a texter into the show make the observation that former Blues coach Joel Quenneville is in the midst of what you often see people do when they're looking to get back into the public eye after they have been, I know a popular term is canceled, but, for whatever reason, they are no longer in the position that they once were. If you want to use the term canceled, feel free, fired for cause, or just dealing with the consequences of their actions. That can also be it. But Quenneville was on Cam Jansen, one of my favorite people in the world, and Andy Strickland's podcast, the Cam and Strick podcast. And he's also done another interview and talked about what took place with the Blackhawks that led to his termination. And people putting 2 and 2 together in our TMA audience were thinking, okay, can't be a coincidence. Drew Bannister may or may not be back. Blues season's likely going to be over here in a week. Maybe Quenneville wants the job and the Blues are interested, but they're saying you can't just pop up at the press conference. You've got to kind of talk about this Blackhawk situation. JR does not disagree. And if you were to speak properly and get away from double negatives, that would be JR agrees. Here's what he had to say. So is he on some kind of quote-unquote Maguire-esque apology tour, JR?
Yeah, it does seem so, Tim. He did one other interview, but it wasn't about the Chicago stuff. It was just coaching, type questions in general. But this was the first time that he addressed the Chicago thing. I can see that side definitely, and it does kind of relate to what you're talking about with Maguire trying to get back in the game. I got to say this though, Quenneville I think has wanted to get back in the game for a couple of years. I think with the league he needs to be reinstated. So I'm sure there's been some behind the scenes. Hey, keep quiet, and I think he has, and now I think it's getting to the point where he's looking for that reinstatement, and they're going to have to go through the motions. I hate to use it, that type of language, but go through the motions in terms of him coming out and talking, and obviously whatever team, whether it's the Blues or somebody else who hires him, it's going to be days and weeks of these types of conversations for him to come back and get behind a bench.
Yeah. The one thing that I would observe, that's Jeremy Rutherford this morning on TMA. You can listen on TMA, watch it on youtube.com/TMASTL, the entire interview, because we talked about Quenneville for a good long while, in addition to the possibility of Kyrou being traded this offseason and the Jimmy Snuggerud situation. So with that all said, the one thing on Quenneville coming back, if you are to play this out, and taking the situation in Chicago out of the equation, which of course is not the way that it would work, but just talking about straight hockey, that would be the Blues are in an acknowledged retool. Quenneville 65. They are not necessarily on the precipice of looking like a cup contender. Would a guy with Quenneville's resume and at this point his age want to come back and, get the Blues through this transition to what hopefully will be a window of competing for the Central and therefore being in the mix to be a real cup contender? And I don't know on that. So therefore, I wonder if Quenneville is truly in the mix. And who knows? JR certainly didn't shoot it down, and the apology interviews could be an indication that he is looking for a job, and maybe it's not with the Blues, maybe it's elsewhere. It doesn't have to be the Blues. That maybe the Blues are planning on expediting the retool if they're going to bring back Quenneville. But you can only do so much with what they have this offseason. So that is that's something that I monitor. If I had to bet, I don't think Drew Bannister is going to be the full-time head coach. At the same time, as JR has said on this program, and we've discussed both here and on TMA, that if the Blues are going to kind of continue with this line of retooling, then why would you bring in a cup-contending coach, and why would a cup-contending coach want to come here?
Right.
So then Bannister would strike you as being logical to work with younger players if you are still in a year or two of the transition/retool period. So point being, keep an eye on what goes on with Joel Quenneville, because I agree. I don't think it's a coincidence that he's doing these interviews now as the NHL's regular season comes to conclusion. And inevitably, you will see some moves here over the next month. And as we've talked about multiple times with the playoffs, there will be a goaltender and there will be a head coach who right now has incredible equity with his fan base, who within the next 3 weeks will be persona non grata with their particular team and organization. So keep an eye on that, and that may be where Quenneville goes. So with that all established, your thoughts on Joel Quenneville and the possibility of him returning to the Blues. Would that fire you up? 314-399-9646. Your thoughts in the YouTube chat as well. This is Balloon Party on 101 ESPN. The Bath Authority is what I would like to talk about with our audience right now. If that is a direction that you are looking to go at your home, well, look into thebathauthority.com, because a better bath awaits, and they're incentivizing you in a major way. Call today at 314-347-0410 and get $1,000 off a new shower or bath, plus 36 months of interest-free financing. You are indeed their priority at the Bath Authority. The Bath Authority provides the highest quality bathroom remodeling products along with a world-class customer experience. Their modern, durable tubs and showers are designed with an exclusive high-tech polymer liner. What that means to you is it'll be low maintenance, resistant to mold and mildew, easy to clean, and it will last for decades. It's the Bath Authority. Call today at 314-347-0410 to schedule your free in-home estimate and get $1,000 off a new shower or bath, plus 36 months of interest-free financing. Thebathauthority.com. A better bath awaits. Welcome back. Balloon Party final segment for the day. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett now. BK and Ferrario next. Jackson, what is your next question on this Wide Berth Wednesday?
Augusta, Tim.
Augusta, your dogwoods and pines, they play on my mind like a song. Augusta, it's you that I love. It's you that I miss when I'm gone.
Augusta, Tim. The one time of year where we can talk about golf without feeling the ire from the non-golf fans. Added on the fly there.
No, that was a sick improv.
Yeah, it's a different term. For those looking to make some wagers this weekend on the tradition unlike any other, who are some chalk players you like and then some sleepers? Also, why does this tournament feel so special and truly unlike any other event in American sports?
Well, a few reasons, Jackson, for those of us who live north and loathe the winter weather. It ushers in springtime. I know you call it sundress season. And it is no coincidence that you see 80-degree temperatures in St. Louis this weekend. It's the perfect timing of the year. If you're a sports fan and you have a hockey team in the Stanley Cup playoffs, if you have an NBA team, you know the playoffs are about to start. The Major League Baseball season is in its infancy. It is perfect. And as far as the golf goes, you can even be a casual fan and recognize the holes. Whereas when they go to Pinehurst this year, I think Royal Troon for the Open, and was it Valhalla, I think, for the PGA, you may occasionally recognize a hole depending on what course it is. But Augusta, you can, certainly recognize 12, the par 3, and the famous par 5s, 13 and 15, and then have a good idea of the number 18 green and the situations that have gone on there over the years. So with that all established, 16 in the funnel pin on Sundays.
Best.
So I think it's that, and rarely, although there was a period of time, like from, I don't know what year, 2003 to 2000, I don't know, till 10, 11, 12, I don't know, that it kind of, you had some randoms pop up in there. I mean, I know Mickelson got in there, but, Mike Weir and Zach Johnson and Trevor Immelman. But what am I trying to say to you? Rarely do you see a random win. Yeah. You can see a random win at the PGA, although that hasn't happened too much lately. And you can see a random win based on conditions at the Open. To an extent, it can happen at the U.S. Open, but at Augusta, it strikes me as being rare. And now, with LIV and the PGA Tour, you don't see these guys playing each other as often, and so you got Rahm and Scheffler, and you got Koepka, and him going up against, take your pick of whomever, but he's a major championship guy. It is, as far as this year goes, he's not the dynamic personality or has the Q rating that Tiger Woods does, but statistically, Scottie Scheffler, with regard to his ball striking, is doing something that we haven't seen since Tiger Woods, which is why he's only plus 400. You bet $100, you win 400. If Scheffler were to win, that's why he's an overwhelming favorite. And for golf nerds such as myself, we're going, something's going to have to go wrong for Scottie Scheffler for him not to win, or somebody's going to have to go off in order for Scottie Scheffler not to win. So Scheffler's the chalk, and I understand why. I mean, he is major chalk.
Yeah.
And I understand why. And you go, okay, well, why? I'm not a golf guy. Why is that? If you go out right now and you hit 100 balls and you play maybe 5 times a year, and you were to draw a circle around where those balls would wind up, all with the same club, my guess is the shot dispersion is what that call is going to be. It's going to be a huge circle covering a lot of balls to the left and to the right. Some will be down the middle, some will be long, some will be short. Scottie Scheffler's ability to hit his irons in particular, because most of them at this point can hit, I almost used the S word. I have no idea why. I guess because I'm talking about what I usually am talking about off air, and that's golf. The crap out of the ball, and can draw it and can fade it and can hit it high, can hit it low with their drivers. But what he can do with his irons is, in the shot dispersion, how tight it is. It's borderline unfair, and the other great players on the tour are in awe of it. Yeah. And that is why he is at another level. Now, personally, I guess it depends on where I allocate my wagering, where I'll be on him. But if he were to win this, you will be in the Scotty Scheffler era. We might already be in the midst of it right now. This would just be the crowning of it. He's just an understated guy who I think a lot of people in St. Louis would really like, but he doesn't have the attention and the fire that Tiger Woods did when he was doing it. But as weird as it is to say, he may be as dominant of a player as we've seen since Tiger's dominance. So there it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and that tight shot dispersion at a course like Augusta and the Masters condition where the greens are brutal and the contours of it, if you can be precise with your approach shots.
I almost fell off the chair.
Yeah, well,
It's because of your takes.
That's right. It's jaw-dropping when you talk about it. It's hard to play at Augusta, but yeah, the way Scotty Scheffler's been playing, it's outstanding. I hope it's Scheffler, Rahm, and Koepka in the top 3 on Sunday. I mean, could you ask for much better?
Tiger.
Yeah, Tiger, that would be the only.
Incredible. I mean, it's supposed to rain there tomorrow and 35 to 40 mile an hour gusts on Friday. So intriguing conditions on Thursday and Friday, and then perfect 80-degree weather, both in St. Louis and at Augusta on Saturday and Sunday. Time for us to go. For Jackson Burkett, I'm Tim McKernan. This has been Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, and Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN and the 101 ESPN YouTube channel. Well, Jackson, you're right. It was a difficult return to St. Louis after my sister's wedding out of town this weekend. When I got to the airport, attempted to start the vehicle, and it was dead as a doornail. And the first thing I did was text James Carlton. And then the next thing I know, within 25 minutes, there is somebody to jump the car. And I was home less than an hour after trying to start the car and thinking I was doomed. That's the kind of customer service that State Farm and the James Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency provides. You go, well, Tim, that's because you have a personal relationship with him and he's doing you a favor. And I understand that. But here's the thing. That's the kind of customer service they practice for everyone. That is what they pride themselves on. That's why they're 363, last time I checked a week ago, probably more now, 5-star reviews for James Carlton. Make the switch. They do all the paperwork for you. It's James Carlton at the Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency. 314-961-4800. Go online at carltoninsurance.net.